She called the cops and screamed, "Arrest him!" But I was on my own land. I froze for a second, gripping the fence post, staring at the woman in high heels pointing at me like I was a criminal. My heart pounded, but I didn't back down. She had plastered a fake HOA notice on my front gate, claiming I couldn't live there anymore. The crazy part? I owned this farm, every inch of it. "Ma'am, you need to leave." "This is private property," I said, trying to stay calm. She sneered like I was the joke. "I'm enforcing the rules. You're breaking them. The police are on their way." I noticed her phone was out, fingers typing like a hawk. Then suddenly a truck horn blared behind her and I saw the neighbors whispering, some pointing, some hiding. The entire cul-de-sac was watching. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Do you really want to call them?" "Because the sheriff already knows me, personally." Her eyes flickered for a second, confusion or doubt, I couldn't tell. She laughed it off, but I could see cracks in her armor. She thrived on control, on fear, but she had no idea I wasn't just some farmer. A loud siren wailed, and I froze for a second, my own heart tricking me. Then I realized it wasn't police. It was her fake call setup, a rented patrol vehicle. She had planned this perfectly to make me look like the bad guy. I wanted to laugh, but anger bubbled inside me. My kids peeked from the porch, wide-eyed. I gave them a quick nod. Everything would be fine. Then the first twist hit. As she moved closer, pointing at me, I pulled out my phone and hit record. Every word, every gesture, every fake threat, captured. She didn't know I had proof, and she didn't know that I had spent years training with special forces. Not that I ever needed it until now. The audience watching me from their windows had no idea they were about to witness her downfall unfold in real time. HOA called cops on my farm for 3 months. Now they owe me, one in Mallers and their leaders. "Are facing prison," I whispered to myself, thinking about how this was just the beginning. The moment she realized I was recording, her face twisted. "Turn that off. You can't film me," she shouted, her voice cracking for the first time, but I didn't move. Instead, I stepped closer to the gate, letting her see the cameras I had installed weeks ago. Hidden, silent, everywhere. Every inch of her fake authority was about to be exposed. "You think you can scare me because of a piece of paper?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. She faltered, and that hesitation told me everything. That's when I noticed her glancing at a small envelope sticking out of her designer bag. An eviction notice she claimed had been approved by some HOA board I'd never heard of. She was so sure it would intimidate me. I walked over and picked it up, smiling as I flipped it open. Every signature on it was forged. Every date was wrong. "Funny," I said, "you forgot one thing. My attorney already reviewed this." Her eyes widened like a deer in headlights. The neighbors were peeking now, whispering, taking videos of her outburst. The power balance had shifted, and then she did the unthinkable. She called the cops again, screaming into her phone, insisting I was threatening her. But here's the twist. The number she dialed wasn't real. She had been bluffing the whole time, thinking the fear of authority would make me crumble. Meanwhile, I had already alerted the real sheriff, someone who owed me a favor from years ago. The sirens in the distance grew louder. Not her fake call, but real law enforcement rushing down the country road toward us. Her confident strut turned into frantic pacing, her high heels sinking into the dirt. This isn't legal. You can't, she stammered. I stayed silent, letting the real tension build. And just when she thought she might escape, my kids ran out, waving at the officers, pointing to her fake notice and all her threatening antics. The sheriff walked up, reading the documents I had prepared. The calm, collected authority in his eyes made her shrink. The whole neighborhood held its breath as her empire of lies began crumbling before everyone's eyes. By the time the sheriff stepped onto my property, she was panicking, her perfectly polished nails clenching the envelope like it could save her. This is ridiculous," she screamed, her voice shaking now. "He's dangerous, I held up my phone, showing the live footage of her yelling, calling fake cops and threatening me. Every lie, every act of intimidation caught on camera. The sheriff barely looked at me. His attention was on her. "Ma'am, impersonating law enforcement and filing false complaints is a serious crime," he said evenly. Her eyes darted around, realizing neighbors were recording too. Every whisper, every camera lens was witnessing her unravel. She tried to argue, but the facts were stacked against her. Then came the twist she didn't see coming. I stepped forward and calmly revealed the truth about my past. You should know I spent years in the military and trained with special units, I said. Her jaw dropped. I didn't come back to fight on this land just to be bullied by someone pretending to have authority. She froze. That was the moment the neighbors gasped. The underdog wasn't so powerless after all. She tried to recover, pointing at my kids. He's putting them in danger. But before she could finish, the sheriff glanced at me and then at my farm. Evidence of threats? Check. Unauthorized actions? Check. Property ownership verified? Check, ma'am. You're going to be cited for trespassing, harassment, and impersonation. Her face went pale as he handed her the official paperwork. The neighbors cheered quietly, some filming, some hugging each other. My wife stepped onto the porch holding our youngest and whispered, "You didn't even have to lift a finger." I nodded, but inside I knew the real fight wasn't over. She had underestimated me, underestimated the power of truth, and that would be her biggest mistake. And just as she was being escorted to her car, one of her so-called HOA friends approached, asking if she was okay. That's when I smiled and whispered to myself, the web of lies was bigger than she thought, and exposing her fully would be more satisfying than anyone could imagine. After she was driven off, I didn't relax. Something told me this wasn't over. The envelope she carried wasn't just forged notices. It contained a network of lies, fake signatures, and backdoor deals with a few local HOA leaders who thrived on intimidation. I grabbed it from the sheriff before she could snatch it back, my heart racing. Every page was another thread to pull, another twist waiting to unfold. Back on the porch, I spread out the papers. Looks like someone's been running a little empire of fear, I muttered. My wife peered over my shoulder, eyebrows raised. You mean they've been doing this to other neighbors too? I nodded, flipping a page that listed multiple properties, names, and fake complaints. It was bigger than one Karen. This was a small, corrupt network hiding behind fake authority. The next twist hit fast. As I scrolled through the list, I realized one of the properties belonged to my old Army buddy. He'd called me weeks ago, frustrated about some HOA harassment he couldn't fight. The pieces connected. It wasn't random. It was targeted. These people had been testing the waters, thinking no one could challenge them. And now they were about to find out they picked the wrong target. I took a deep breath and grabbed my laptop, uploading every video, every recording from the past week. Names, threats, fake calls, all documented. The twist? The HOA's own insurance company required that evidence be kept and reported. Once uploaded, it wasn't just me against her. It was a legal storm forming, and she had no idea. Just then, my neighbor, who had been quietly observing everything from behind their fence, stepped forward. You have proof? They asked, whispering. I nodded. Everything. And it's all going to the authorities. Their eyes widened. You're going to crush them. I smiled, feeling the thrill of hidden power. The network that thought it could intimidate anyone was about to be exposed, one shocking revelation at a time. Even my kids were excited, peeking over the porch railing. Dad, are they going to get in trouble? I winked. In more ways than they ever imagined. Word spread faster than wildfire. By morning, half the town had seen the videos. The clips of Karen screaming. The fake patrol car, the forged HOA letters, it was all over social media. Neighbors who once stayed quiet began speaking up. Dozens of them. Stories poured out. Cars towed without notice, threats over paint colors, fines for garden fences. It wasn't an HOA anymore. It was a racket. Karen's so-called friends started panicking. One of them, a man named Clark, showed up at my gate, his usual smug grin gone. Listen, this got out of hand, he said, glancing around like someone might be watching. If you take those videos down, maybe we can fix this privately. His voice trembled on that last word. I didn't answer. I just turned my phone toward him, recording again. Privately? I asked, raising an eyebrow. You mean off the record? Like how you forged those signatures? His face drained of color. I don't know what you're talking about, he stammered, backing away. But I didn't need his confession. I had something better. That evening, I received a call from a local reporter. Someone had leaked the documents I'd uploaded. Every forged notice, every false fine. The story hit the headlines. Fake HOA extortion ring under investigation. My phone buzzed nonstop, but I stayed focused. This wasn't about fame. It was about justice. As the sun set, I stood on my porch watching their so-called HOA office being taped off by real investigators. Neighbors gathered, whispering, recording. I didn't say much, just folded my arms, watching it all fall apart. Karen wasn't there, but her empire was burning. And deep down, I knew she'd come back for one last desperate move. Because people like her never quit until they're completely destroyed. Just when I thought it was over, Karen returned, this time with a fury I hadn't expected. She showed up at the edge of my property in a rented SUV, blasting a bullhorn, waving papers and shouting about trespassing and illegal recordings. But she didn't know that I had anticipated every move. Hidden cameras captured her every step before she even reached the gate. I stepped outside calmly, my hands empty, my voice steady. "You've made enough noise. Step off my property." Her eyes widened in disbelief. She hadn't expected resistance. Then the twist hit. She wasn't alone. A few of her HOA allies had joined her, thinking that sheer numbers would intimidate me. But as they approached, I played my final card. I pressed a button on my phone, and from speakers hidden in the trees, the live recordings of their harassment threats and forged notices blasted across the property. Their faces went pale, and here's the kicker. One of them, a man named Clark, the same one who tried to negotiate, fumbled, dropping his phone. I picked it up and realized he had stored their entire internal chat group on it. Plans, lies, and instructions to fake complaints. Another twist no one saw coming. Everything they had ever done to neighbors, every scheme, was now in my hands. The neighbors came out murmuring, filming everything. Karen's confidence crumbled as she realized she had underestimated me. And then the sheriff arrived again, called by my real-time alert system. He read the evidence, one shocking document after another. Karen tried to talk, tried to claim I was exaggerating, but it was too late. Her lies had trapped her, her allies, and herself. By nightfall, the HOA crew had been cited, their fake authority officially nullified. The entire town whispered about the audacity of their crimes, and I stood on my porch with my kids feeling the weight of what had just happened. One last twist remained, though. Karen wasn't finished scheming. I could see it in the shadows, plotting her next desperate move. But this time I was ready. The next morning, the legal hammer fell. Karen and her HOA allies were hit with multiple citations: trespassing, harassment, impersonation of law enforcement, and forgery. Their faces appeared in local news, headlines screaming, "Fake HOA ring exposed, leaders face jail time." It was satisfying, but I didn't celebrate just yet. I wanted the full truth to come out. I met with the real sheriff and a local attorney, laying out every recording, every forged notice, every hidden camera clip. They were stunned by the thoroughness. "This is airtight," the attorney said, flipping through the evidence. "They won't walk away from this." I nodded, feeling the weight of months of harassment finally turning in my favor. Then came the ultimate twist. The HOA had insurance for legal disputes, thinking it would protect them. But the insurer reviewed the evidence and realized that not only were the claims fraudulent, they were criminal. Overnight, the HOA leaders went from smug and untouchable to scrambling lawyers, fearing financial ruin on top of criminal charges. Neighbors began coming forward to testify. A retired vet whose truck had been towed, a single mom fined for a painted fence, even my old army buddy. Everyone added layers to the case. Each story was another nail in the HOA coffin. And for me, it was more than justice. It was proof that truth, patience, and strategy could topple even the most entitled. Finally, I uploaded a complete timeline online, every moment captured, every lie exposed. Within hours, it went viral. The message was clear. If you try to bully people off their land, even for months, the truth will find a way. And sometimes it hits harder than you imagine. Karen's name was tarnished, her allies humiliated, and the town finally understood the stakes of blind obedience to fake authority. Standing on my porch, watching the sunset, I realized something. The fight had started with fear, but it ended with power, proof, and justice. And as my kids ran through the fields laughing, I whispered, "This farm is ours, and no one will ever take that from us." Weeks later, the court hearings wrapped up, and the final verdicts landed like thunder. Karen and 2 of her HOA allies were sentenced for forgery, harassment, and impersonation of law enforcement. The fines alone exceeded $1 million, and their reputations were destroyed. The town whispered about them for months, and anyone who had doubted me now understood the full weight of what had happened. But the ultimate twist wasn't just legal, it was personal. During the final hearing, my old army buddy revealed that he had secretly recorded additional conversations with HOA leaders, conversations proving they had planned similar schemes against other neighbors for years. Suddenly, what had felt like a small personal battle became a nationwide warning about corrupt HOA networks. I realized that my fight had exposed something much bigger than me or my farm. Walking back to my land, I saw my kids running through the fields, laughing freely. My wife stood beside me, holding our youngest, smiling. I took a deep breath and looked around. Every fence, every tree, every inch of soil was ours, safe, untouchable. And I knew that this was more than victory. It was proof that standing firm, documenting the truth, and never underestimating the power of hidden strength could topple even the most arrogant bullies. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I whispered to my family, "We didn't just win the farm, we exposed them for who they really were, and now they'll think twice before threatening anyone else." And just when I thought the story had ended, a notification popped up on my phone. The HOA's insurance company had officially filed a claim against Karen and her allies, ensuring they would be financially ruined. The final twist? Their arrogance had set them up for complete collapse. I smiled, knowing this battle had been long, messy, and tense. But justice in the purest sense had finally been served.